Dragon Ball Z is unquestionably one of the greatest, and to some, the greatest anime of all time, creating endless moments and memories for us to live by with over 200 episodes and an entire manga series to show for it. On today's video, we will be going through my personal top 10 greatest Dragon Ball Z episodes of all time, reliving the glory days of some of the most intense, action-packed, and memorable moments to ever occur, leaving us with 10 of the greatest episodes of Dragon Ball Z of all time. Next.
This is the perfect being. Before I destroy your favorite heroes, I'm going to need you to subscribe to the perfect channel Unrelent Gaming and turn on notifications to never miss a single upload. Also follow Unrelent Gaming on these social media platforms to stay connected at all times. And if you don't, then very soon you will all be dead! Along with your entire planet.
The Dragon Ball franchise is absolutely massive, and I thought it would be a fun idea to revisit and give you my personal top 10 best Dragon Ball Z episodes of all time. Being that I'm always asked what my favorite episodes or top episodes for Dragon Ball Z were and why I love them so much over the others, it surely wasn't easy going back and taking a look at what I consider to be my favorite episodes of the series. But being that the year is coming to a close and people wanted to know, I thought I would share that with all of you, which is why I would also love to hear what your top 10 favorite episodes of Dragon Ball Z were in the comment section below, as we kick off number 10 on the list, which is Dragon Ball Z episode 120, entitled Another Super Saiyan. Now, when growing up and looking back on this episode was a very captivating episode for two specific reasons. Number one, this was the first time we ever saw someone outside of Goku achieve the Super Saiyan transformation, and not by only simply achieving the Super Saiyan transformation, but by having to completely manhandle Frieza and his father upon arrival. The fact that Frieza gets absolutely slaughtered after having to come back more powerful than how he was before raised such an intrigue for me in knowing the fact that this unknown Saiyan came from out of nowhere and nobody has ever seen him before just to do what he did in stopping Frieza in literally one slice of the sword. The episode also centered itself around Frieza and King Cold having to be arrogant enough in underestimating who this person was, in the idea that Frieza had only come to Earth just to simply encounter Goku once more and getting his revenge, with Trunks having to follow up and telling Frieza that he is not the only person that is waiting for Goku's arrival, but also feeling the tension between the two is what really built this episode up in being one of the best, and seeing Frieza engulf Trunks in a supernova just to simply see Trunks emerge from the crater holding the supernova in his hand. It was one of the most badass debuts and badass showcases for any character in Dragon Ball Z, which is why this is one of my favorite episodes in the entire franchise. Now, coming in at number 9 on our top 10 list is Dragon Ball Z episode 270, entitled Rip in the Universe. Now, what was most astonishing about this episode is seeing the combined powers of Goku and Vegeta now having to create Vegito completely decimate and mollywop Buhan every step of the way, in allowing him to feel so insignificant and inferior when compared to Super Vegito's power. It was one of the many episodes where Buhan was forced in creating such effects and rippling throughout the universe, where Vegito was forced in using more of his power just to simply put Buhan down. It was a combined demonstration of what it was like to see Super Boost Fusion go up against Goku and Vegeta's fusion, and without a shadow of a doubt, Vegito is one of my personal favorites in the Dragon Ball franchise, so to simply see the output of what Goku and Vegeta's fusion can do against the being that threatened the very fabric of the universe itself was absolutely awesome to see, and everything Vegito was doing, and not only seeing him toy around with Buhan, but also making him suffer in knowing the fact that Buhan may be powerful, but Vegito is that much more greater as a warrior, but also seeing the pure brutality and the dominance Vegito had over such a being is what made this episode one of my favorite episodes of all time. Now, coming in at number 8 on our top 10 list is Dragon Ball Z episode 128, entitled Double Trouble for Goku. Now, this was the second second time Goku had ever gone into transforming into a Super Saiyan, as he was fighting against enemies who were leagues above Frieza, and the ominous message from Trunks was that this led us to believe that the androids that destroyed the future were in fact the androids that Goku was currently fighting, but in fact it wasn't. And with that being said, Goku's dreaded heart virus came into play by the end of this episode, not only allowing Goku to fight off against the android, but having to fight off against the heart virus as well. Now, seeing as to how Super Saiyan Goku was toying around and completely mollywopping Android 19, as the episode progressed, it was 19 that gained the upper hand on Goku the minute that Goku had caught the heart virus midway of fighting Android 19. Now, Goku seemed to have had the fight well under control, but after Goku's strength was mysteriously depleting, it was to everybody's knowledge that it wasn't the fact that it was only 19 that was draining his strength, but the heart virus as well. Now, coming in at number 7 on our top 10 list is Dragon Ball Z episode 264, entitled Search for Survivors. And this is where we get to see Super Buu backed into a corner by the most powerful version of Gohan that we've ever seen in the world of Dragon Ball Z, as Super Buu goes as far as to blow himself up in a desperate attempt to destroy Gohan in this blast, simply to be used as a ploy. Gohan demonstrates why he is the most powerful character during that time, in having to beat Buu down so bad to the point where Super Buu began to lose his temper and completely having to fight out of pure rage. And when you stop to think about it, the monster that had wiped out most of the population was finally getting put in his place. But by the end, it was Gohan's arrogance that was beginning to shine alongside his power. And it was the first time that Gohan's true power was brought out to the surface by the Elder Kai, in seeing what Gohan was fully capable of now that his true power had manifested. Now, coming in at number 6 on our top 10 list is Dragon Ball Z episode 237, entitled Final Atonement. Now, this episode speaks for itself. It was when Majin Vegeta had created a massive explosion in his attempts of defeating Majin Buu after having to sacrifice everything, including his own pride. It was the first time Vegeta sacrificed himself, and had sworn to do this for someone other than himself, in creating a massive explosion that took his own life, but also doing it for the namesake of Bulma, Trunks, and yes, even Goku. It was a memorable moment considering the emotions that went into this, and the fact that Piccolo had even told Krillin that Vegeta is finally doing something for someone other than himself, in controlling his own fate, which to me led this to be one of the greatest moments in all of Dragon Ball history. Now, coming in at number 5 on our top 10 list is Dragon crashing into the Namekian buildings, punching, kicking, and blasting each other as hard as they physically could, even having Frieza pronounce his hatred for Goku and saying, "I hate you." Every single time Frieza attempted to put Goku down, Goku kept bouncing back and wanting more. And at this given point, even after having to be at max power, Frieza had finally been outmatched, outclassed, and even as Goku's strength continues to increase with every blow, Frieza had come to the realization that the only way to put him down is by any means doing anything he could as an end result, even if it means destroying the planet just to secure his victory. And with that, to me as a fan, labels this as one of the most brutal episodes we've ever seen in Dragon Ball, considering the fact that we had non-stop action from both Goku and Frieza, in which really had gained the title in being one of the most epic battles within all of Dragon Ball history. Now, coming in at number 4 on our top 10 list is Dragon Ball Z episode 230, entitled The Long-Awaited Fight. Now, this was the epic battle between Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Majin Vegeta, and it was a very barbaric fight, both fighting at maximum Super Saiyan 2 levels, in not only having to fight for the sake of their pride, but also for ego as well. With both Goku and Vegeta having to be backed into a corner, this was mainly a fight of bragging rights, and both of them knew that they were fueling Majin Buu, but never cared to begin with, still wanted to settle the score, and still having to prove a point, at least for Vegeta. Now, what made this episode so special was over out in the distance while Goku was fighting Vegeta, we see how Trunks and Goten are trying to get to Majin Buu because they know that the monster is about to be hatched, unknowing that their fathers are out there somewhere fighting to the death and having to settle their rivalry and finding out who is the best. What made this episode so unique was the score, the voice acting, and everything that went into this episode, knowing the fact that Goku this entire time was also holding back after having to find out later on that he was able to go Super Saiyan 3, what made this that much more unique and special to the eyes of the viewer was Vegeta actually had a chance. Despite everything that Goku had gone through and how strong he has become over the years, Vegeta still had a chance, and which was demonstrated during this episode when Vegeta and Goku went head-to-head, toe-to-toe, and having to be evenly matched on the battlefield. In which, coming in at number 3 on our top 10 list is Dragon Ball Z episode 245, entitled Super Saiyan 3. Now this is self-explanatory. This was the first time that we ever had the chance to witness a power beyond that of an Ascended Saiyan, and seeing Goku push himself far enough in achieving Super Saiyan 3. And this was the first time that anything outside of Super Saiyan 1 and Super Saiyan 2 had been conceived, and it was the most epic transformation, in my opinion, ever to be showcased in the world of Dragon Ball. The intensity, the flaring, the emotion that went into the transformation itself made the episode that much more unique and grounded in seeing how far Goku can push himself in achieving levels that we never thought were possible. And it was the first time anyone had ever pushed themselves that far in battle before, and admitting that he was hiding this from Vegeta in their previous battle this entire time. Not even the powerful Majin Buu was able to fully understand the depth and magnitude of Goku's power, but Babidi was. And I think it was the first time that it made anyone out there even feel the emotion that was of Super Saiyan 3, especially with Goku having to achieve that for the very first time in the world of the living, being that he never really had that much practice to transform into this kind of power to begin with, especially in Otherworld. Now coming in at number 2 on our top 10 list is Dragon Ball Z episode 191, entitled Save the World. Now this was the final battle, the final showcase between Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and now a much more powerful Perfect Cell, who had returned from a massive explosion and engulfing King Kai's planet and taking Goku's life with him. It was Earth's final moment of hope as our heroes were up against a seemingly unstoppable enemy, with Gohan and Cell having to struggle back and forth in their Kamehameha waves, and seeing that Gohan was up against the wall with no other reserve left, it was one of the most defining moments in seeing Gohan unleashing one of the most beautiful and ferocious Kamehamehas in all of Dragon Ball history, as even with the assistance of the Z Fighters, Piccolo, Tien, Yamcha, Krillin, Vegeta, nobody was able to affect Cell directly during this beam struggle, in which as a direct result, if it were not for the effects of Vegeta having to catch Cell's attention, Gohan would have most certainly have died during this struggle, which is why Vegeta had played one of the most crucial roles in this episode in not only seeing what Vegeta had done to help Gohan, but also feeling the effects of the atmosphere, the score, the voice acting, the overall tension that was of Cell having to push Gohan to his very limit. This was one of the most defining episodes in all of Dragon Ball history because Goku wasn't there to be the hero. Goku was there simply in spirit to guide Gohan, as it was all down to Gohan in stopping Cell by giving him everything he had and more just to simply end the nightmare. And I think that by the end of this, a lot of people were grieving for Goku, but also very proud of Gohan to see how far he's gotten in becoming one of the most powerful warriors in the group, if any, the most powerful during that time, as he was also the first to break the boundaries of becoming a Super Saiyan 2 before anybody else. And last but certainly not least, making its number 1 spot on the entry is Dragon Ball Z episode 286, entitled Spirit Bomb Triumphant, which basically is the final episode and the final battle between Goku, Vegeta, and Kid Buu. And what was so remarkable about this episode to me as a kid, and even now when looking back at it, was knowing the fact that Kid Buu was so smart in knowing that Goku was going to use the Spirit Bomb against him. Instead of challenging Goku directly, what he did instead was capitalize on a very weakened Vegeta and basically torturing him and antagonizing Goku further in launching the bomb. And Goku at this point could not decide on whether or not he wanted to go through in killing one of his good friends in the namesake of destroying Kid Buu. The entire episode was basically building upon Goku having to have no energy left in his reserve in pushing the bomb back against Kid Buu. The entire episode centered itself around desperation in the fact that Goku had no reserve left in having to come up with enough power in forcing the bomb back against Kid Buu. It was a triumphant victory to Goku once of course his power had been restored, and from there having to see Goku make one final speech before destroying the very last villain that we saw in Dragon Ball Z. It was an intense moment to see what Goku can do when of course his back was pit up against the wall with nothing left in reserve, if it were not for the help of the Supreme Kai, Vegeta, Majin Buu, Hercule, and everybody else that Goku had surrounded himself himself during that battle, Goku would have probably most likely have lost the battle against Kid Buu, which made the fight against Kid Buu that much more intense, considering the fact that Goku went all out just to simply put him in his place. But it wasn't just Goku and Kid Buu's fight that intrigued me the most, it was the emotion that we saw from everybody having to reunite, from Goten and Trunks to Bulma and Chi-Chi, Videl and Gohan, everyone having to come together and realizing that the Earth has been restored, but also knowing the fact that there was this huge battle going on, and if in fact Goku had lost, it would have meant the doom of everybody even after being resurrected, which all in all to me is a very emotional episode in seeing how far Goku, Vegeta, and essentially everyone has come in terms of growing as characters and seeing their final chapter be told. These were my top 10 episodes for Dragon Ball Z, and I would love to know your favorite top 10 episodes in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. Once more, if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to punch that subscribe button, leave a like down below if you guys enjoyed, and if you guys have anything to share in terms of comments, thoughts, and opinions, drop them down below. Thank you all once more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to Unrelent Gaming and all his social media platforms. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so you can be the first to know every time that he uploads a new video.
Oh, did someone say Unrelent Gaming? Oh my god.
The fuck's up? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge!